Hello, my name's Charles and welcome to ShopFreeMart's YouTube channel. Today we have an audio broadcast. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe button, and if you wish to be notified of upcoming audio broadcasts or videos, click the bell icon as well. So without further ado, let's listen to today's broadcast.
Okay, today we're going to talk about one of the reasons that women tend to outlive men by roughly 5 to 6 years. Now, there's a handful of reasons. One of them is iron. Men accumulate excess iron usually starting about age 18, and women accumulate excess iron after menopause. Excess iron can relate to a lot of neurological diseases which tend to occur or begin in women after menopause. Another important topic for both men and women, approximately 1 out of every 5 people, or 20%, have a gene mutation called C28-Y homozygous, and this causes your liver to hoard iron. Now, this could be a huge factor in your own health. It may create the opportunity for vascular disease or microvascular disease, which could affect your ability to produce spider veins, varicose veins, hemorrhoids, and other things that you don't want. If you have any of these things, spider veins, varicose veins, it could be excess iron. Iron also fuels bad bacteria, compromising the ability of phagocytes to kill microorganisms. It increases your susceptibility to infections as well as the occurrence of cancer and other diseases. It's rare to find excess iron in growing children because they have a constant need for iron, but once people reach adulthood, the amount of iron required by the body is significantly less. Benefits of removing excess iron include things like reducing growth of bacteria, reducing arterial inflammation, which is, by the way, caused by bacteria, which is the major underlying cause of cardiovascular disease. And you might be interested to know that women really don't have much of a risk of heart attack until they reach menopause, simply due to the fact that too much iron is a big factor in the cause of heart attacks. I might mention while I'm here that we're getting a lot of inorganic iron in the breads, the flour, cereals, and different foods. They're actually adding iron to a lot of different foods. So you don't want to watch your labels, folks, because this iron poisoning is a big deal. There are also studies that show that healthy males benefit from reducing their iron levels because it reduces oxidative stress, which means fewer free radicals. A group of 1,277 men and postmenopausal women ranging in ages from 43 to 87, all diagnosed with peripheral artery disease, were divided into 2 groups, one of which underwent phlebotomy or blood donation. The other group received no treatment. The control group donated 1 unit of blood every 6 months for 6 years, and upon conclusion of the study, it was found that individuals aged 43 to 61 who underwent this blood donation or blood phlebotomy experienced a 54% reduction in death rates from all causes. Additionally, the phlebotomy group experienced a 57% reduction in death from non-fatal heart attacks and strokes. Other studies show that carotid atherosclerosis of the arteries in the neck is also positively associated with blood ferritin levels. In other words, the higher the iron level in your blood, the higher the level of neck artery occlusion or blockages that are found. Let's take a look at diabetes and iron levels. Phlebotomy or blood donation has been shown to reduce blood glucose or triglycerides and fibrinogen levels while increasing high-density lipoprotein or the good cholesterol. And in animal research, iron reduction by chelation or dietary restriction reduced arterial plaque lesions. Excess iron was found to damage the kidneys and brain tissue, and in a Finnish study of men who donated a single unit of blood within the previous 3 years, they found a 30% reduction in cardiovascular disease risk. So how can iron possibly help you on the one hand and hurt you on the other? Before we answer that question, it's important to understand what the function of iron is in our body. One of the most common functions is it binds into the hemoglobin molecule in the red blood cells and it passes throughout your entire body, of course, and its purpose there is to primarily serve as a carrier of oxygen. In other words, it delivers oxygen to your tissues. So its primary purpose is to serve to distribute oxygen to all your tissues, and if you don't have enough of the right kind of iron, the most common symptom, of course, is going to be an iron deficiency anemia. And this is typically present in two primary groups. One would be children, and then the other would be premenopausal women. And by that I mean women who are still menstruating. So that would be anywhere typically from 16 to 50 years old. That's a typical age at which most women menstruate. So the other condition that could do it is blood loss, and that of course will produce an acute loss of blood and secondarily the iron. So these are the three primary ways that you're going to have an iron deficiency anemia. And it's relatively easy to diagnose, but unless it is diagnosed, it actually has to be differentiated from other causes of anemia, because that is clearly the most common cause of anemia. But clearly there are others. Some of the others would include other nutritional deficiency anemia like vitamin B12 or folic acid. They actually cause the red blood cells to become very large. Then you can have cancers that, fortunately very rare, but they can also contribute to an enlarged spleen, also genetic diseases like hemolytic anemia. An example of this would be sickle cell anemia, but there's also another form called thalassemia, which is also called Mediterranean anemia, which is a genetic hemolytic anemia in which one of the molecules of hemoglobin isn't well formed. Now, the result is that the red blood cells become very, very tiny and have a large number of them, but a relatively low level of hemoglobin. The importance of understanding or identifying this is that you have one of these conditions and you're given iron to compensate for it. You can actually make the person much worse and can even kill them prematurely. So iron is a two-edged sword. It can help you or it can harm you. And for the vast majority of people, it can harm you. Let me tell you how that happens. If you have too much iron, in other words, you have more than enough to satisfy the requirements of your hemoglobin molecules for the purpose of distributing oxygen throughout your body, anything over that amount is going to be a surplus of iron and is a very potent oxidant stressor. In other words, it will oxidize tissues in your body, and this oxidation will cause very dangerous free radicals, which will cause significant damage in your tissues. It will increase your risk of heart disease and cancer, among other things, and also damage your DNA. So you clearly want to avoid oxidative stress caused by too much iron. So iron is kind of like an antioxidant, and you do not want that much of it, and unfortunately, many of us have high levels, because if we're not a woman who's menstruating every month, then most of us are just slowly building up stores of iron. Now, fortunately, there's a simple way that you can screen for this, and it's one of the most important tests that I believe everyone should have on a regular basis as part of a preventative, proactive health screen. That test is actually the carrier molecule in your body. It's a protein called ferritin that transports the iron around your body to the other tissues that require it. So if you, in fact, your iron levels are low, then your ferritin levels will be low. If your iron levels are high, then your ferritin levels go really high. Also, the sweet spot, the range is somewhere between 20 and 80. If your ferritin levels are below 20, then you're iron deficient, virtually by definition. And the lower it is, the worse your deficiency. If it's above 80, the more iron you have in your body is an excess. So you really should not have a triple-digit ferritin level. It can go really high, even to over 1,000, but anything over 80 is going to be a problem. So again, the sweet spot is somewhere between 40 and 60. The reason you want to limit that is because it can contribute to cancer and heart disease. Anyway, this can actually turn into type 1 diabetes. If you have too much iron, it can damage the DNA of your pancreas. If you have high ferritin levels, it's relatively simple to donate blood. Most of us can do that, and there's no charge. We just go to a blood donation center. They're happy to receive your blood, but many of us have had illnesses in the past that prevent us from donating our blood, and in that case you need to see a physician who can write a prescription for a therapeutic phlebotomy, and so the doctor will actually just remove your blood and dispose of it. If you're using the last option, it's probably better rather than to donate a pint of blood, have them take about 8 ounces, because removing a pint is a significant percentage of your blood volume, and it can make you tired and fatigued for a few days. It's better to remove about 8 ounces more frequently than a pint periodically. But normally the average person is going to require anywhere from 2 to 3 a year in order to bring your ferritin levels down. So interestingly, it's one of the primary factors of different liver diseases, especially hepatitis C. In fact, many people who appear to have hepatitis C actually have an iron overload, and when you lower the ferritin levels, the hepatitis C will frequently improve dramatically. For those who struggle with the opposite condition, which is iron deficiency anemia, this could be caused from a copper deficiency. And of course, we have our pure copper with ShopFreeMart. But if they do in fact need iron, the best source of iron is humanely raised organic red meat. But you need stomach acid in order to absorb the iron, so you may need to take a tablet with HCl, hydrochloric acid, or perhaps some apple cider vinegar prior to eating the meat. So again, if you are a meat eater and you have low iron levels, it could simply be that your stomach acid is too low. I just want to give you a warning. Those who are taking iron supplements, especially multiples for children, you want to stay away from ferrous sulfate. Ferrous sulfate is a relatively toxic inorganic metal that can lead to some serious challenges and other problems. Certainly one of the biggest ones is overdose. So especially if you have children that are taking a chewable multiple vitamin, there are a number of cases, unfortunate tragedies, where kids die every day from overdosing on these things. They develop iron toxicity, and oftentimes they aren't able to be recovered even when they go to the emergency room. So a safe form of iron supplementation is carbonyl iron. If you're going to use an iron in a supplement form, it should be carbonyl iron, and that's spelled C-A-R-B-O-N, carbon, Y-L, carbonyl. I've not seen any reports of overdose or toxicity from carbonyl iron. However, carbonyl iron is only absorbed at the rate that gastric acid is produced. So if your stomach acid is low, you will have to take some form of acid to help it be absorbed. Now, I hope this information is helpful, and if you are facing some challenges that you can't quite get on top of, you may consider getting a screening to check for excess iron in your blood. It's one of those things that's easy to treat by taking some extra copper and donating some blood. So hopefully you can spread this information around, because more people need to know about it, and unfortunately many physicians aren't even aware of this type of information and don't tend to recommend it to their patients when they do. So hopefully you'll use it as one of the ways that you and your family can take better control of your health.